Hi, I'm JB with MAS Epoxies. We're here today in sunny Santa Cruz, California to talk about how our products work in the repair and care of your boat. West Marine has brought MAS Epoxies on board because they've realized that it makes life easier for those of us that are doing repair to our boats. How do we do that? By using our simple 2-to-1 system. 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. You mix the two together, 1 pump to 1 pump, and you can slow down or speed up the resin system as you're working with it by using either a medium or fast hardener, or you can blend the hardeners to create any speed you want in between. But let's back up a minute. Why are we using epoxy to begin with? We're going to use MAS Epoxies because MAS Epoxies are stronger in the repair when you're fixing either a crack in the hull or you have a ding and your boat's made out of a polyester resin. You use epoxy because its bond strength, its ability to glue 2 things together, is almost triple that of using your polyester. So you get a permanent repair. That's why we're using epoxies. How do we make it easier? We make epoxies that have lower surface tension so it flows into the fabric or the glass that you might be working with. So if we take some fiberglass and we put it on the boat, and we mix up our epoxy and pour it onto the fiberglass, we want that epoxy to flow through the glass easily and make a good bond to the boat. The next thing we do is, our epoxy doesn't have any wax or film after it cures. Many brands you'll find that it'll have a waxy film called amine blush that you'll need to wash and sand before you go on to your next coat or painting the product. Ours will cure to a nice clean film and you can just move on. So it saves you time, and it saves you energy, and it saves the environment by no downstream waste. We're not wasting sandpaper, we're not washing contaminants into the waste stream. So MAS Epoxies is quite easy. We have 2 basic resins. In our catalog and on the West Marine website, you'll find a low viscosity resin that is quite thin, and you'll find a flag resin, which is a heavier body material for when you need to add fillers for fairing applications or for gluing applications. And I'll explain that. But the 2 resins, thin and thick, you can blend those together. They're compatible with each other. And then 3 hardeners, a slow, a medium, and a fast. The slow would give you about 30 minutes in the cup if we were just holding it, and give you about 4 hours after you pour it out onto a surface and work it to move your project forward. The medium would give you about 20 minutes in the cup, about 3 hours on the surface, and the fast would give you about 7 minutes in the cup and about 2 hours on the surface to attack time for recoating or painting. Most resin systems, most epoxies are slower curing. Colder temperatures, overnight curability, overnight sandability. You're going to have to take a couple of days for it to cure up fully before you can put your boat back in the water. But it's going to be a stronger part when you're done, so be patient with it. The fillers I referred to. When you want to do a repair, let's say you're replacing a bulkhead in your boat, and you've got your bulkhead in place, and you've put your glass in place, and you want to smooth it out because you're going to sand it and paint it. Well, there are different types of powders that we would add to the resin system. And in this case, where we want something that's easily sandable, we would use phenolic microballoons. And they're just a plastic bubble. It's a powder. You take it, and it's fluffy, light powder, and you mix it into the resin system after you've mixed the resin and hardener together, and then you put it on the surface. Now, you can make this as thick as peanut butter or a nice thin slurry if you want to. It really doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's your project. That's for fairing applications. For tough gluing applications, we want to use colloidal silica. This is glass bubbles. You don't want to breathe a lot of this stuff, but you wear a mask with it, you mix it into the resin system, you put it on the surface. It's going to be very hard to sand later on, so get it smooth before you move on. Wood flour. Wood flour is just that. It's pulverized wood. It looks like sawdust. And it's very safe to work with. It's great for wood applications. When you're gluing up wood or cold molding applications, it's perfect in the repair of your wooden projects. We've recently come out with a new product called Cellofill. In our desire to be safer for people who work with resin systems, Cellofill was one of those products that came to us as an acellulose paper fiber. This is a replacement for colloidal silica. It's actually stronger, less expensive, and easier to work with. We like this stuff a lot. This is Cellofill, and this will cover about 80% of your projects when gluing or gluing or filleting applications. Last but not least is milled fibers. This is actually chopped fiberglass. This is tough stuff, and we don't find a lot of need for it unless you're in really tough structural applications. So this would probably be the last choice for most people, but it's available. As I said, we try to make things easier. So our epoxies, when we use our slow and medium hardeners in reasonable temperatures, that being 75 to 85 degrees or 70 to 85 degrees, our resin systems don't cook. They'll actually cast. And why is this important? This is important because when you're doing a large fillet, or if you're doing a large fairing application, you don't have to do it in stages. You can do it all at one time. You can put all your glass on at one time. You can put all of your filler on at one time. And it won't boil. If it gets hot and it boils, it becomes brittle. We don't want that happening. So we've controlled that. The other nice thing about that is, if you go to do a repair on your deck, let's say, and you're replacing a stanchion that's come loose, or you have delamination in the deck someplace, or some water intrusion, and you get it dried out, you can actually cast new epoxy and core in the deck or around where that stanchion was, and then you can screw into it or drill into it and tap a new bolt into it. There's many different applications that you can use with our epoxies, but MAS Epoxies has made it simpler for you. The low viscosity, the heavier body resins that you can mix together, the 3 hardeners, the different fillers, it's all just easier to work with. And when you get to the point where you need to replace or repair your non-skid, we can also provide that. We have what's called flex mold. And flex mold is the pattern of your non-skid, the reverse, so that you can repair it. And you look at our flex mold videos, you'll see how to do that. This is the basics of MAS Epoxies. To go beyond this in some of our other products, we have a 5-minute epoxy called Rapid Cure. Well, it's not really 5 minutes. It's more like a minute. So Rapid Cure is a product that we developed years ago because we wanted something a little faster and a little more waterproof. It's a 1-to-1 resin system, 1 part resin, 1 part hardener. It's waterproof and it's permanent, but it's fast, really fast. So here today, where we're standing in the sun and it's about 75 degrees or so, I mix this up and I'll get about 45 seconds of mixing time on this before I actually have to put it on the surface. And I'll feel it getting warm pretty quickly. But this is for permanent repairs. So be ready when you mix the material up, have a place for it to go because it's going to go quickly. And it's getting hot on me right here, and now I want to get it out. That's how quick Rapid Cure is to work with. One thing I do want to point out, when you're working with all these materials, I should have been wearing gloves. Safety is important. Wear gloves, keep it off your skin, wear a dust mask, especially when you're sanding it, and be careful. Any chemicals on your skin is not a positive thing. And that's MAS Epoxies.